Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, welcome to episode 153, and it's me, your host, Blaine with Dry Run, with my co-host, the original, the OG Mike Mylan, because last week we actually had Mike Mylan filling in for Mike Mylan while Mike Mylan was in Denver, and Mike's back, and I decided I was going to jump in and kick us off today. So I might have to pass it over to you because you were starting, you were jumping in.
Because I'm so used to it, I did it 152 times. Just go. And we even decided right before the episode, like, hey, what would it be like if you did it?
Yeah. And I could see you chiming in. So next week we'll be back. You can kick us off next week. We thought it'd be funny if I kicked it off this week. So how you doing, man? Back in the seat. It's great to have you back,
dude. Come on, I'm back. I'm back, baby. Not only am I back, I'm back all month, and I'm better than ever. And I'm tell you what, let me give you guys props for last week, though. Right? I took it off. I was in the mountains of Colorado. I was listening live, right? Because I'm like, oh shit, if I'm gonna be right here in the car, I'm gonna listen live. What I didn't realize, first of all, hey, this altitude sickness, I think, is a real thing.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Headaches.
Yeah, dude. I at Seattle, or not Seattle, at San Antonio, we're at like 350 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
Boulder's at like 5,500, and I was driving up to almost 9,000.
Ooh.
And dude, it was like that's a massive change for a guy that's usually at sea level. And I was tired, I was sick, but here's what also happens. You don't have cell phone in between 5 and 900 or 9,000 feet. You just don't have any. So I heard the first 20 minutes. I didn't hear the rest of it, but man, what a great fill-in. I mean, he did well. What do you think?
Oh yeah. No, Mike Mylan, who filled in for Mike Mylan. Great time. Baltimore Mike, who's also one of our beer sponsors. I'm going to thank you right now, Mike, for getting us some beer to both of us. And he had some great beer that he was featuring last week, but he jumped in and filled in not only admirably, but he actually brought the topic because it was a topic that he was interested in and understood really well.
Yeah. Well, and remember how that happened. I'm like going, dude, I just don't have the bandwidth. I can't do this last week, but we still wanted to get one in, right? Because we provide every week. And Mike had already introduced a topic to us. And I said, hey, why don't we have him as a guest? And you said, why don't he host today? And this happened. This happened in a matter of minutes. I'm talking about just minutes before you guys were scheduled to go on. So Mike Mylan in Baltimore put together a plan. He had notes. He was prepared. Totally not Mike and Blaine material, though. If you think about it that way, you're like, we don't do any of that.
Yeah, we just are off the cuff every week, all the time, which makes it kind of fun. But but it was a topic that was. Okay, I'm not going to say it's near and dear to my heart. It's a topic that makes me kind of sick. This was this RFP. So I know Mike's had all success with RFPs. I've had success with RFPs. We've won them, but they're so painful. They're so painful. They're so costly that it felt like doing a deal with the devil. So I got to tell you that we in my last business, we literally quit responding to RFPs unless they basically begged us to apply. So.
All right, so in my janitorial company, and I know this ain't the topic for this week, but in my janitorial company, I had to do RFPs, right? We had to do walkthroughs, all types of stuff. Here's what I hated about it. Outside of the process of money and all that, the regular person doesn't know what's going on. The guy that's satisfying the contract, he might be the project manager. He might be, in my case, just the janitor. He doesn't know if he's going to have a job, and you can't tell him. It's one of those things where I've seen project managers or store managers in retail, if they lose things, they lose their job. Oh, by the way, this is kind of odd. Not odd. This is cool. I heard of a new fan introduced to me by Courtney. His name is Devin in Louisiana. This guy listens religiously and tells Courtney everything I say.
Awesome.
But Devin, if you're out there, man, hey, I appreciate you. Thanks, man. Thanks for listening. Appreciate that.
Yeah, feel free to chat, guys. Say hi and chat, because I actually have it up this week. I always forget, and then I look and like, oh, there's messages in there. So we have this live chat. So if you're listening on YouTube or Facebook Live, I think you can chat with us, and I think it comes up from both. I'm not totally sure. Anyway,
yeah,
it's nice.
All right, so I'm going back. Some people lose jobs over these RFPs, and I'm like going, it just seems like total bullshit. Like I'm going, here it is. You're doing your job and all that. You probably know that your contract's up for bid, but if you lose it, what happens to you? They don't have to keep everybody, and a lot of times they don't. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they keep part, not the others. But it's a tough gig, right? These RFPs.
Yeah, it's tough. And you know, it used to bother me so much knowing how many other small businesses had applied, like actually contributed to their pitch for an RFP. And I know like we would win ones, and I would know it's like there was hundreds of thousands of dollars flushed down the drain for all these other small businesses that put in all this time. And the only thing worse was when we put in a whole pile of money and someone else won it. And usually it was like, yeah, they had an in that we didn't know about, or we didn't have an in. Because usually that's really was a big part of getting them, is because, and it's not like it was, scratching someone's back. It's just literally like if we had an in, it was because we had done work before and they knew us, they trusted us, and knew we could deliver. That was our in. They knew from experience how good we were. That's how we would win those bids. And so sometimes there'd be a bid and I'm like, they don't know who the hell we are. We can write all this stuff, but guaranteed they've used someone that they trust. And it's going to be really hard for us to overcome that trust of someone that they know, right? That's delivered.
Yeah. So the end result of this, I know we're still on beer sponsors, is Baltimore Mike, you did a nice job. Don't bring that Baltimore Raven bullshit back to the podcast ever again. This is my podcast. This is Chiefs territory.
No comment. I'm just leaving it. You guys can battle it out. Usually it's on our bloody text chain cell phone where you guys are messaging back and forth in our little group chat, and I just watch you guys argue over football. But it's anyway. But Mike, it was awesome. It was awesome last week. Thanks so much for co-hosting. It was a blast, and thanks again for the beer. And we also have 3 other beer sponsors. Then we'll get to the beer we're actually drinking. We got some other beer sponsors here, and I think we should be thanking them. So I'm going to dive in and thank Larry Weinstein, best CPA in Houston. If you need a CPA, go talk with Larry. Larry's been a long-time beer sponsor. He's a beer sponsor. All of our beer sponsors actually are already all the way through the end of 24. So thanks so much, Larry.
That's right. If you're struggling with QuickBooks, if you are having problems, you're a business owner out there like going, I just want to know more about QuickBooks, you have to call Rachel Barnett of Gentle Frog, right? So Rachel, she knows more about QuickBooks than any of us on this call. She knows more about QuickBooks than most people on any call. Call her at Gentle Frog.
And finally, neighbor Pat, as always, bringing you beer, not me. I just hear how good it is.
He's always like worried if we're going to knock him off this sponsorship. He's always worried about that. We played bags this last week. Neighbor Pat and I, right? Okay. Neighbor Thomas came over too. We were going to go best 2 out of 3, right? Because that's how we do 2 out of 3 games. Yeah. Pat took an early lead in all games that we played. early just jumped out there. At one point in time, he had me like 15-6 or something like that. Like, I mean, that close to winning. I mean, I think it might have been 18-8. It was so close to winning that anybody would think you had already won. Neighbor Pat could not beat me in any of those games. And we played an extra game just to give him an extra advantage, and he still lost. So Neighbor Pat is still not good at bags.
Pat, if you want to keep listening to Mike's bullshit, I think you're going to have to start doing some little extracurricular practice on bags so that he can't.
Oh, he is. No. He told me he's watching YouTubes. He knows flips and turns and twist of the wrist and all that. I got natural talent. I'm not watching YouTube over here. I just play. I drink beer and I play. And I think the more beer I drink, the better I play. That's kind of what happens.
I'm trying to remember who was telling me in the last couple of weeks they went to play cornhole and whoever they were playing pulled out like bags, or was it you that pulled out and they had special weighted ones and all that? Were you the ones telling me that?
Nope. We not only have weighted. We have not only have weighted, but each side is different. There's a sticky and a slick side, right? And they have different ratings on the slick and the sticky. And what's happening is everybody in this neighborhood is bringing their own little bag of bags to wherever you play. It's like, hey, you play with what you play with.
Yep.
That's how dumb it is in Texas right now in cornhole.
I don't even know if I could hit the backboard. So we'll try it sometime. I'll make it out your way one of these days, and then maybe I have a natural phenom talent, but I doubt it very much.
You probably do. You probably do. I mean, you got the physique for a cornhole player.
There, you're talking about the gut or the?
You're schmedium. If I look at and watch ESPN or whatever it is where they got the cornhole champions, they always look like you, not me.
Okay. Well, you know what? Maybe if you have a hockey stick there, I could flip the bags over like that or something. But
there you go. Tiger Woods.
Give it a go.
Wayne Gretzky it. Yeah.
What are you drinking?
All right. So I chose now. First of all, what I thought that I was going to have the Phantom Bride because the other Mike Milan's not here. He's a Phantom today, right? So the Phantom Bride, but it kind of fits with the topic. We're talking about how are you as a customer, because that really connects with how you're an owner, right? If you're a shitty customer, you're probably a shitty owner, right? Maybe not, but you have to think about it that way. So the Phantom Bride is for my man, Mike Milan in Baltimore. You're a Phantom this week.
Absolutely. And okay, so I'm going to talk about my beer because I read the topic and I looked at it and went, okay, I'm not sure that isn't Fuzzy Logic, but anyway, so I picked Fuzzy Logic from the Establishment Brewery in Calgary, Alberta, which I was actually in Calgary yesterday and the day before, and I should have gone to the Establishment because they got great beer. But we did try a brewery called Vacay, and it's connected to a distillery and had some meetings down there. It's a great town, and the Establishment is one of the province's best breweries. So always love supporting those guys, and go try their Fuzzy Logic. Good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about today, the topic. You know, every topic that we pick is generally based on something that happened this week.
Yep.
And I had contractors over the house, and I'm always like, I want you to do the best job for me that you possibly can. So because of that, I'm very accommodating. I'm nice. I connect on a personal level, just like you and I are talking. I always really try to accommodate and really be there for the person that's doing work for me. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like there's a psychological connection between I like this person, I don't like this person, and I'll do a better job or I'll just kind of do my work. I'm not saying people do bad work. I'm just saying they don't go over the top. You don't get the extra request. You don't get the extra little care that they would give to their friend. With a stranger, you got to kind of, figure out what's the connection to be able to get that type of service. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I'm the same way. Like I really, but there's also this part of it when, let's say I have a contractor in, I really appreciate it because they're likely here solving a problem I can't solve. And they're bringing in an expertise I don't have. And I really appreciate that. So if you've got a broken down AC or something like that, I'm like, oh my God, you're helping me. In fact, we had a contractor in, oh man, I love these guys. There's a contractor we met through my in-laws. Actually, they do a terrific job. Garcia and his guys do like an amazing job on almost like anything inside the house. Right. And we had a water leak from upstairs right into our kitchen, and it's like knocked down ceiling with like kind of two tones of color, like, and it's impossible to like replace, basically, like really difficult. And we had this water leak while we were down in Arizona all winter. We got back, and now we had giant brown ring and brown lines on our ceiling. So we found the water leak. We got it straightened out. We got it fixed. We're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So call Garcia, and he comes over, takes a look at it, and said, yeah, we can take care of that. Probably just have to do a little bleach. And I'm like, what? And he sent one of those guys over. They taped everything down with plastic. They did a lot. They sprayed this bleach. It disappeared. It was like magic. I couldn't believe it. The ceiling looks perfect. And it was just real, like, he charged me nothing for it. Like it was outstanding. And I absolutely like, so that's a side of it too, is it's not like just, trying to get better service out of it, but boy, I appreciate it when you have good service and they deliver like that. It's like, oh my God, that's my guy. Right.
Hey, same thing with my landscaping back here, right? I put in the pool, the landscaping, the irrigation, all that stuff. Every day I took them a 12-pack of beer. Just at the end of the day, just left it out there. Before they left, they had a 12-pack of beer. Take them with them, drink it in the yard. I don't care what you do. But here's what it did. Everywhere they could have took a shortcut, they didn't.
Yep.
Everywhere they couldn't, And to me, I'm like going, because they didn't want to disappoint me. And there's a human connection. I don't care how much AI we put in the world. There's a human connection that cannot give you the extra bit of care that sometimes you need.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I've taken and left beer out for the garbage men because we've had like, sorry guys, we had a lot of shit this week for like, I know it's making your job a little like, I've done that before because it's I appreciate that. And it's, but it goes a step further, obviously, when you're a contractor, when you're hiring contractors in, and it's like, we've talked contractors of the house, but also contractors that we have that we've used for our business. When you find these really great contractors, it's just, you really want to make sure that, you just never want to let them go. Right. Cause because you know what it's like to have the wrong ones.
I've got a guy right now build my app. We're a year and a half in on a relationship that we talk every other day. I've never met him. He's one of those guys where if I lost him, he's a valuable member of my team now, and I do everything to make sure he's happy. Right? If he submits, because he submits a bill, I don't even question it. Don't care. I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it. Everything you know, everything you do, everything you try to do, it's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm going to flip this on its head because I will say the other thing that I know about me, like when I have anyone that's sort of serving us contractor, like, or even like our favorite restaurant, we're regulars at a number of places, right? And we appreciate the staff so much. We appreciate the owners. We like, that's just, there's this level of, relationship that you build there. Right. But boy, I will tell you, when I get really bad service, And when I'm treated like garbage and I look at it and go, I would never treat our clients the way you're treating me, I will freaking go to war with you. I cannot, because it's not just that you're mistreating me or maybe mistreating my team. I feel like you're stealing from me, but it feels like in the defense of people that actually give good service, screw you. And I just have such a low tolerance now when we have really poor service, when we have a really poor contractor. And frankly, I've got one right now that I am so beyond disappointed. And one of the things I was doing today before we came on here was I was like crafting a letter to tell them exactly, like, this is basically why we fired you, and you are going to have to go jump in a lake. Like, nicer than that, but that's the other side of it is boy, do I not do well when there's people that treat me differently than I treat my customers, right? So that I have a real problem tolerating. And there seems to be a time in some companies' lives when they get too big for their britches. They get to a certain size and suddenly, and I attribute this to the top down, suddenly they don't care about their customers. They only care about their balance sheet. And I'm like, you can see it and you can feel the transition where it's anything for a buck and we will throw you under the bus. And that's where I have a real problem.
All right. So I agree with you. All right. So when we talk about problems, I used to own restaurants, right? And the most important person in a restaurant is the person that's there spending money right now. Not the employee, not the cook, not the advertisement that might bring you in next Wednesday. It's the person that I'm already in the building spending money. Mm-hmm. So I get frustrated when I don't get enough service. It's a really weird thing. Like I prefer to sit at the bar, right? Why? Because I think I always get better service there. I get it faster. I don't know. It's just more comfortable. So it's usually just Courtney and I'll just sit at the bar. Mm-hmm. If you choose as the bartender to wash dishes and do whatever paperwork you have behind the bar rather than scanning the bar, especially if there's only 5 or 6 people at the bar, rather than scanning every minute, every 2 minutes. Hey, where's everybody at? What are they doing? I want you to scan, make sure, hey, I'm here, because the longer you make me wait for the next part of the service, the more annoyed I get.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I absolutely agree. And so, it's funny because it's like, how are you as a business owner and how are you as a customer? And you know what? I think the fact that I have at times a very short fuse with bad service comes into, I think, the way we treat our customers is that we don't take anything lackadaisical. Like, and we've learned over the years, like there's been times where it's like, yeah, we dropped the ball on that. And it's like, you don't want that to happen again. Like I pride ourselves in how we treat our customers and how responsive we are. And I'll tell you, okay, I'm not going to name any names. I'm sort of tempted, but I won't. I'm not going to. But there was a new restaurant in Edmonton that we heard a few people say, oh, amazing place. You got to go. You got to go. You got to go. So one night we didn't have, as usual, any groceries in the house. Let's just go grab a bite. And instead of going to one of our usuals that we know is going to be basically great to outstanding every single time, from staff to food to responsive to everything, we thought, well, we'll go try this place. Now, I expected it was a small place, maybe family run. Turns out we showed up and it was not. It was actually a small chain and it was kind of a big place. Oh. And we went up and we sat down and I just, my spidey senses were already tingling. And I'm like, this is like a Tuesday night or something. It's not even busy.
Yeah.
And we sat there and I'm like, okay, I think I'm done. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, what else is in this end of town? Because we were in this far, I'm like, where can we go? Where can we go? Because I'm ready to get up and leave, right? But I'm thinking, okay, where do we go? Because I'm hungry. And I could even see the staff over at the bar hanging out and chatting with each other, but didn't give a shit about us, right?
Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, where can we go? Where can we go? And then the waitress pops in. I'm like, that shit. Got nothing. We could drive across town to one of our favorite places, but we went way out of our way to this place. Okay, we'll stay. Against my better judgment. And what happened was we had awful service. The food showed up. It was cold. It was not prepared well. And it was expensive. And that was about 3 weeks ago. And I got to tell you, I am still pissed off. I am so pissed off. And the worst thing was when we left, I'm like, oh, we should have gone there. Because I could think of a place that was not that far away. And I'm still mad that we didn't get up and leave and go somewhere where our money would have been spent well. Because I just felt so ripped off. And yet the place is busy. I don't know why. Because people tolerate mediocre service, mediocre food, mediocre everything.
All right, so I went to buy this beer today, right? Went to buy it. The place says, hey, back in 5 minutes, which was odd to begin with. I couldn't get into the store. I'm like, what do you mean back in 5 minutes? What the hell's going on that you need 5 minutes? It's probably pooping, I guess. I'm like, all right, so I sat in my truck. I'm the only customer outside the door. He comes back. Instead of talking to me, because I'm standing right there, he flips the sign to cash only. And I'm like, well, fuck, I didn't bring any cash. I only had a credit card because I was just buying beer for this podcast. I'm like going, why not talk to me? Explain what's happening. Maybe if you have an ATM and you need cash, I would have walked in and got it. But never unlocked the door, just flipped it from back in 5 minutes to cash only. I cannot figure that out. And maybe I'm a bad customer. I don't think I'm a bad customer. I think I'm the person that expects good communication from a business.
Yeah. Yep. Communication will go incredibly far. Just keeping people up to date. Like, and I know you have a little acronym, but we just go by respond fast and get it fixed. And, and follow up. And I know like it was basically, there's a fourth one in there somewhere that you had, but we basically follow the same sort of three.
Yeah. There's four, right? It's aura. I want my customers to have an aura all the time, right? So because of that, I want to be the customer that you want to give an aura to. So think about that. Remember, this is about how am I as a customer because it reflects as how I run my business. Yep. So let me turn that for just a second and say, well, if I'm giving my customers an aura, I also want to have an aura, which means AURA, which is acknowledge, hey, I hear you got a problem. I got you something that's going on. I mean, I know what you're doing here. Update, resolve, and approach. Those are 4 steps that you take to be able to keep good communication. It's a communication technique. That's all it is. If you just say communicate when you can, I just make it more rigid. I want it to be in a sequence. Hey, make sure you tell them you heard them. Make sure you update them if you can't fix it right away. Make sure you resolve it as soon as you can. Make sure you approach them afterwards. Make sure it happened. And it's the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's basic customer service to me.
Yeah. And it's tried and true. Like that we basically do that. It's like acknowledge as fast as you can so that they know, that as long as it takes away a lot of apprehension. It's not like with our business it's not like generally the CFO needs something in 3 seconds. They're like, I've got other things I got to do. Acknowledge it. Like, okay, the acronym's great because we don't necessarily do that. But, follow up, give them updates, let them know what's going on. We do that. Make sure it's resolved. We do that. I always get lost on the approach part. Like we just kind of follow up and go, that's good. But the acronym I completely blank on all the time. So I'll have to memorize your aura.
But it makes sense, right?
It. Yeah.
All right. So if you're trying to learn more about aura and how to create an aura for your customers, what you need to do is contact Cashflow Mike at cashflowmike.com because it's, what do you think of that? Now I'm the oddball, right? I'm the oddball because now I'm taking over the eye. But that's what we're talking about. We're like going, this is one of the concepts I teach people is customers are just as important as cash flow. If you think about it, your customers are your cash flow. And if you do not look at them as you do your own life, air, water, warmth, food, this is the same thing, but you have to approach it as aura. I acknowledge that you got a problem. I'm going to update you at what I'm doing on a regular basis. I'm going to resolve it when I can and approach you afterwards to make sure it met your expectations and let other people know this is what I'm doing next. That to me is what approach is and aura. So cashflowmike.com. We teach that as part of the Pathfinder program. Everybody that has the designation CPCP, which is actually a thing now, believe it or not. Yeah, it's a third-party certification by APMG International, where we can get you certified in being a cash flow professional for your clients or for yourself. So contact me to learn more about Aura.
So Pat was highly impressed with your segue.
Oh,
because it was nice. That was a good segue, man. That was slick. They're just like,
Pat was impressed.
Yeah, Pat was impressed. Pat, I assume Pat, you joined us late and didn't hear Mike's bullshit earlier, so you have to watch the show later.
He was late. That was a great segue, right? Because usually I throw it back at you. This time I took it.
Exactly. It was a beauty. And I was watching. I'm like, I wonder if I should try and work in a segue here. And man, you beat me to it. And I was just sitting here sticking to my knitting, and I missed it. So, it's.
Hey, that's part of it. I mean, what we do around here is, we hit fiddle hoppers out of the park every time we can.
I knew you had one coming there. That was a little bit of a weak one where you connected that in. We'll take it.
That's funny. All right, so this next half, here's what we should do, though. Flip it. We've been talking about us as a customer. What about you as an owner, right? Because I still think if that's the way you believe, is it still true with the way you treat your customers?
Yeah, I think, really you bringing up this topic, actually make me realize that they're tied at the hip. I think it's just how you're wired, right? Yeah. And so I really, I care about our customers. And when we drop the ball, I really have, Pat talking about your cornhole bashing. So I guess, Pat, you actually heard some of the bullshit Mike was throwing before. But I think in a way, I will say, and I don't think this is any bit controversial at all, but I will say the customer isn't always right.
Agreed.
Absolutely isn't always right. When we talk with our customers, we will bend over backwards for our customers, and we want to hear, we want feedback, we want everything else. We also want our customers to treat us fairly, and that doesn't always happen. And it's rare, but every once in a while, you get a customer that I don't think is trying to be fair. And I will tell you, we had a few at my creative agency going all the way back to that time too. I have fired there's a couple times I had to fire a customer. One time because they were just awful, and I think they were trying to put us out of business. They were just awful. But there's another one that I actually just didn't treat our team properly. And my team was more important than that bloody customer. And I do remember that beyond tried my patience, that was a quick conversation because it's like, you do not like, that's the expectation I have, like, hey, I treat people right, and I expect you to do so too. And you will not take advantage of my team. And that was, and I don't think that was sort of some big, I didn't sit around and dwell and think about it. That was like, my gut reaction was, you don't do that and you're done. That's just the end of that. And because I believe very strongly in just treating people right in a level of fairness. And if you walk outside of that, then are you the right fit for us as either team member, client, whatever, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you said the customer's not always right, I've had that where somebody is like paying $30 a month for a piece of software that they can cancel at any time. And we're bending over backwards, even creating new features for them and acknowledge them using the Oro technique. And you're still mad. And then you go out beyond us and start bashing the company for $30. I'm like, that's where I start getting mad. I'm like going, I'm not that type of customer. I'm going to try to destroy your business because for the $30, I mean, dude, I spent $30 on beer. I'm not bashing a company for $30 worth of beer, let alone a $30 subscription that didn't do exactly what I thought it should because I didn't pay attention to what the guy was telling me.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't need people like that. And there's just there's just a level of fairness. And you know what? It's funny. A lot of times it's the ones that you sort of, there's at times, I shouldn't say the one, there's at times there's ones where they're really demanding you bend over backwards for them. And there's nothing you're going to be able to, like, you can bend over backwards and they'll still like stab you in the back basically. And you're like,
I just stopped doing it.
Doesn't help anyone.
I stopped doing it. It used to be the squeakier the wheel gets the grease. I'm not going anymore. If it's necessary, all of a sudden I determine, is that part really needed? Meaning that customer, do I really need that customer? Do I have to apply grease there? Remember, it used to be, 80-20 or 90-10, 90-10. 90% of your time is spent with 10% of your customers. You heard that? I'm stopping doing that. No, I hadn't
heard that ratio, but I get exactly what you're saying, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm stopping doing that. I'm like going, listen, if you are not going to be on the same page as the rest of the 90%, then we need to figure out how to get you there or not. I'm okay with up or out, right? That's my new migration strategy. Either you come up the value chain where you're on the same page as the other 90%, or you're out. I mean, I can't get you there, or I can't change everything I'm doing to accommodate 10% of the people.
Yeah. And like that's I guess I sort of part of my philosophy as a customer too. And I think that's why I find some of the businesses, the way they deal with their clients, and if I'm a customer of them, that I find so offensive is nothing makes me madder than I have to be the squeaky wheel to get something done.
I shouldn't have to.
I shouldn't have to. And I never start there. I always start with just a fair, reasonable conversation. And when I'm forced to be the squeaky wheel, it's not going to be the squeaky wheel. It's going to be like a little bit of dynamite because I am beyond annoyed at that point. Right?
The reason you have a squeaky wheel to begin with is you didn't fulfill a promise.
Exactly.
You said something or showed something or led me to believe something that wasn't true or didn't work exactly right. So you got to think about it that first is it's a squeaky wheel because I didn't fulfill a promise. But if I did and the person didn't understand or chooses to have their own promise outside of what I made, well, then that's their fault.
Yeah. Yeah. it might be the beer talking, but I am actually thinking, I don't have the time. If I had the time, I think I would start another podcast and it would be just called Blaine's Shit List. Because, when you're dealing with businesses and so many of these small independent businesses and they bend over backwards and they try and they work hard and they appreciate their customers. And then you run into these ones that just, they kick you in the shins. And I would love to do an episode every week. Here's who was on the shit list this week,
You can do it in this one. We'll do it at the end, and we'll call it, hey, before we go, here's Blaine's shit list. But you have to keep it to one or two things, and you have to keep it to a couple of phrases. You can't go fucking like an hour long on something. So let's try it. Dude, I think it'd be a good thing to add to the podcast, like Blaine's shit list.
No, I do like the concept of it. What I don't like and I'm not comfortable with is I'm not sure with some of them if it's a smart idea to name names, even though they freaking deserve it.
You don't have to name names. You don't have to name names. You can say a service company in Alberta. There's 5 types of companies: manufacturing, service, retail, wholesale, and contractors. A contractor in San Antonio. You can say it that way, and I still get the shit list. So I want the shit list. I think everybody else on this podcast, if you're going to make a separate podcast, I'm going to be mad. That's going to be on my shit list. That's going to be on my shit list.
No, I'm just throwing it out.
Blake rated.
That would be a really nice area to vent. No, but
you can do it here. You can do it here.
It's not really a shit list if I'm not naming names, but I don't think I'm quite ready to name names because I also feel a little uncomfortable naming names at times, even though it's like, man, these shitheads deserve it. Like, I'll be honest with you, I've had to deal with a few of them this week, and I'm like, man,
why can't you say a service company or a retail company or a wholesale company? Why can't you say that? I don't know if it's that interesting. If you're not naming names, it's really just sort of a generic weird comment about somebody that no one knows who you're talking about. So I think it'd be weird. I kind of like the idea, but I think without naming names, it's just it falls flat, I think. So, well, you have 75 podcasts already going already. I mean, I got one. I got this podcast. You got like 7, 10, 4?
No, I have 3. I have this one and 2 others. The 2 others are well, I do enjoy them, but they're not nearly as regular as this, and they're much more embedded into dry run. Like there's a it's the dry run ones, not the Blaine ones, but I happen to be the ones that are kind of the host of them. So, but I don't know. Someday I would be because I will say that just being out and about, I'm pretty sure I could have a shit list topic every week. But but like I said, I don't really feel comfortable like
all right. So can we
the bus? But it pisses me off.
Can we have a curated shit list segment at the end of every episode? Hey, remember Family Guy where they had this is what grinds my gears? Why don't you have one of those?
We might go to maybe if I'm not naming names, I don't feel comfortable with that, even though they freaking deserve it. But I will. But you know what? It's funny because I probably covered a few every episode anyway. I don't really say who they are, but I could probably share one.
Right,
so maybe I'll try one this week.
All right, let's start with one a week for a little bit and see if you liked it. I don't think you can come up with a whole episode of just shit list.
No, it'd be tough to do an episode.
So I
could bitch about these guys for a while, but anyway.
Let's add a segment of Blaine's shit list at the end of every episode. And because if you're listening already, this is what you want to pay attention to the end of the episode is to figure out who's on Blaine's shit list this week.
Okay, you know what? I think I could do this because what I'll do like you said, I may not name names, but I'm going to talk about what they do that is shitty that gets them on the shit list, because that will help you, I think, as a business owner, maybe identify, are you doing some of this bullshit?
So brand new segment, Blaine shit list at the end of every episode. But you have to stay to the end to figure it out.
Pat wants to call it the Blaine's Fiddle Hopper list, but
Pat's already drinking.
Sticking to the knit list.
I don't care. It's Blaine's list, whatever he wants to call it.
Yeah, we'll call it the shit list because that's the one I can remember. So Blaine's shit list. We may have to have a T-shirt about that at some point.
All right, Blaine's shit list.
You're on Blaine's shit list. Yeah.
Dude, I feel like I grew up on Blaine's shit list. That motherfucker, that's all I did. So
okay.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh. And we're open to sponsors for the shit list because we'll even rename it. We can call it like we can call it something different. If you have something that just the grind the gears. Hey, if you got a machine shop, Blaine's grind the gears. We are open to sponsorship on this segment that will be initially called Blaine's shit list.
Well, see, you need a neighbor Pat, so you can just say neighbor Pat's shit list, right? You need one of those in Canada.
Exactly.
And in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Right? Then it wouldn't be Blaine's shit list. It was, or it'd be Blaine's shit list sponsored by neighbor Pat.
Sponsored by, exactly. Like some sanitation department company or something.
Yeah, because that's what neighbor Pat's bag schemes like is the sanitation department. Come on.
Oh boy, Pat! I hope you're listening. You better be careful of what Pat puts in your next beer. He brings down.
Oh, I never thought about that. Is he poisoning me?
Not poisoning, but probably doing something to make him feel better. So
yeah, but if I put it on air, that way, if I die, they'll look at him first.
Yeah,
don't poison me, Pat.
Yeah, I don't think Pat would poison you, but I'm sure he'll be thinking.
No, he shouldn't be thinking. That's weird. But all right, so back to the topic. All right, so here's what I am. I feel like I go over and above for my clients. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Because I have a philosophy that if I'm super helpful, if I'm helpful beyond belief, it will come back to me. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. That's the thing. Solve a problem is the most tenuous situation in any client relationship. So if I can solve a problem, it's going to come back to me in the form of dollars somehow, some way. Maybe not from that client, but they'll tell 10 other people, you know what happened? Blah, 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 blah. They never tell people, that. Mm. Think about it. They never tell people when things happen great. But if you do it more often, meaning percentage-wise, maybe 3% of people tell people when something happened great, 97% say when something happened bad, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Right? So it's one of those things where if I do more and more and more good things, it's going to come back to me in form of dollars. That's what my whole philosophy is.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think it's a bit of that philosophy. Like it's kind of funny because sometimes when we get really bad service, like in a restaurant or something, I don't say anything because I'm like, but I'm going to tell the waiter, waitress, they could not, usually they're part of the problem. They don't care. We're just not going back. We never go back. But I'm more likely to say something about hey, you guys do a great job. Your food is outstanding. Saying something to the kitchen, giving them a congratulations because I know I'm coming back and I really appreciate it. And complaints, I'm like, oftentimes it falls on deaf ears anyway. And it really, is it going to change anything? Probably not for me because I'm probably not coming back. right? So, that's just a bit my philosophy, right?
I'm telling you, it's not your philosophy. I mean, that's reality. 3% of the people will tell you what the problem is. 97% of the people will not. Yeah. Right? The whole thing comes from that. My grandmother did this to me. I walked to her with the bank. Did I tell you this?
Yep.
Walked to her to the bank.
But it's a good story, and it's perfect for this episode. So, yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Walk with her to the bank. We walk into the bank. She's looking at the person she knows the most at the bank. He's on the phone. She goes up to the teller who she doesn't know that well because she's 90-something years old and teller's 20-something, right? Doesn't know as well as a 50-year-old that's sitting at the desk. She walks out. This guy never looks up, doesn't say hi, bye, kiss my ass, nothing. She walks out. Never talks to that guy. Never once. She doesn't. Yep. The customer doesn't. But she goes all the way through the neighborhood and all the way through the night. She told everybody she came in contact with that he didn't say hi, bye, kiss my ass, nothing. He just ignored me. She told everybody about a bad experience. And that was my proof that people will talk about bad, not good. That's what I'm saying. 3% of the people. That way, if you do more good, you'll still get 3% of the people talk about you in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's true. And oftentimes you'll hear it because people today like to bitch or go on and, online and complain about stuff. I'll admit that, well, we're about to start the Blaine's shit list, but for the most, I don't generally say much. We're just not going there again.
All right. So
we aren't doing that again, right?
We are at the end of this episode. So don't forget this. We're going to include Blaine's shit list, but go to mikeandblaine.com. You can buy us a beer. You can sponsor Blaine's shit list. You can sponsor the whole episode, be a title sponsor at the mid-roll. Instead of Cashflow Mike or Dry Run, you can own that spot. You could be a beer sponsor. It doesn't matter which one you want to do. Go to mikeandblaine.com. Tell us which one, or just say buy merch, buy beer, talk to us. Doesn't matter. Or say it on the Facebook. Doesn't matter. Now, to end the episode, the very first thing that you're going to put on Blaine's shit list is...
Okay. This one is going, and it is critically important. If you're a business owner out there, I want you to think about this because this puts you on my shit list. And I'm going to tell you, I'm speaking from two different types of businesses right now. One, software business that under-delivered to us. And two, the restaurant that I talked about earlier. And you know how you get on a shit list? If you own a business, there is a point where you become disconnected from your client. And if you become disconnected with your client, your staff will treat your clients like shit. And they will not only never come back, they will tell everybody else about it. Just like you said. You may not hear it, but they will tell everybody else about it. And what I'm saying here is that when I look at these two things, the breakdown starts at the top because they aren't bringing the culture of serving the clients into the business. And I think, and we have at times have dropped the ball there. And I think today we are really good at giving a shit about our clients. And that I think is really important.
Dude, I can't think of a better way to start ending episodes. You got to remember, I put you on the spot. I made you do it right now. You weren't prepared. This is a great way to end the episode. Don't end up on Blaine's shit list.
Or you can also sponsor us and follow, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. It does help if you guys are on YouTube and that. Make sure you hit like. Facebook, whatever. That does help the show a lot. And you can also go to mikeandblaine.com. You can buy merch there. Message us. You guys, most of you guys, you know how to get hold of us. You might even be able to text us. You might be able to connect with us on Facebook, on YouTube, send us messages, LinkedIn, whatever. We would love to hear from you. Make sure you catch next week's show, number 154, where Mike will be back to kicking it off.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.